Hi, I am Najeli, an MBA student at IAU, and today we are going to talk about short-run production. First of all, to understand short-run production and cost analysis, we should understand what is a production function and its importance for any given business, whether it's a good related or service related. The production function analyzes during a specific period of time how the outcome would be according to the input available or necessary for this production. The inputs could be related to labor, such as employees, subcontractors, corporation expenses, etc. It could be related to capital, such as machines, tools, manufacture, it could be related to materials such as raw material and supplies, and all the things that it's related to product, for example. The general equation to determine the quantity of output is described as K equals to a function of labor, capital, and material, and whatever is related and can influence the result of the output. According to Canton and Potters, the short run is a concept that states that within a certain period in the future, at least one input is fixed while others are variable. In economics, it expresses the idea that an economy behaves differently depending on the length of time that it has to react to a certain stimulus. In a short run analysis, at least one input is fixed. That means it's hard or almost impossible to change in a short period of time. Most of the case, it would be related like to physical structure, for example, the lease of the building. In a short run analysis, the company can shut down, but it cannot fully exit the market because it still has some commitments in place, such as the lease contract. In the short run, also, a company is more likely to detain monopoly than in the long run. For example, if a company launches a product that is revolutionary and nobody has anything similar than this company, it would be monopoly for a period of time, and in the long run, it could have some competition. In the short run, companies can produce until their outcome price surpass the average available cost of production, and it can have positive, negative, or zero profit. Uh, for example, I used a consultant firm as example because it's a service related, and I would like to make an example different than the lecture from our professor. So here, the building expenses is fixed, and I put 3,000 and has the capacity to 10 employees. And managers, 8,000 each, and it has to have one manager for a group of 4 developers. Each developer costs 5,000 to the firm, but in the other hand, they can bring 10,000 revenue. And each person that works in this company spends 500 in software and computer and etc. So the formula would be like this. And for example, for one developer, the output would be a profit of 1,500. For 2 developers working in this company, the outcome would be 6,000. For 3 developers, the outcome would be 10,000 and 1,500, and so forth. So the histogram shows the amount of revenue in the vertical axis according to the amount of developers in the horizontal axis. As you can see, not always when you put more input like labor, you're gonna have a higher outcome. With 4 developers, for example, in the short run costs of production, it increase and the outcome decrease. To be able to add another developer, the company would have to look for another space, perhaps change its location, break their lease contract, pay fees and penalties and all the kind of stuffs and costs that is related to moving the company to another place. As a business owner, you should take all these costs into consideration before making a move. And for sure, this would take a while to do. So it's more like a long run project where your future space will be predicted to add even more than one, like 11 people, expecting a future growth. Additionally, this is a very simple example. In the real world, functions are more complex and economic factors are also taken into consideration. One option to increase the output result would be to analyze each employee performance to see if they are delivering the performance expected or how can you make them to deliver the performance that you were expecting them to deliver. And maybe you can change your software to a more sophisticated one that can help them to increase productivity or even outsource some basic stuffs that they spend much time doing and it's very basic for them. You should also make some surveys with clients because sometimes when you push your employee to work more fast in a fast pace, they don't deliver a good job. So all of these decisions should be tested with a production function beforehand. So as a manager, you could have a clear notion of what output would be more likely to occur regarding a change in the input. And this is why the production function is so important in a business world. It really works as a guidance for any business decision. As I said before, in a short-run production function involves the use of at least one fixed input in the production process. We can measure productivity in 3 different ways: total product, average product, and marginal product. The total product is the outcome of labor and capital, where capital is fixed. In this situation, the labor will directly impact the results of the company. The equation for total product is total outcome produced is equal to a function of labor and a function of fixed capital. The average product and marginal product are similar. While average product is the total result per unit of a variable input, the marginal product is the difference between the last input and an additional variable input. The marginal product is important, especially for seasonal firms, to decide whether or not they should hire more employees when they are in the months with more demand, for example. Similarly, you can measure costs. The total cost is going to be the price per unit considering fixed costs and variable costs. Average product cost would be an average price per unit considering fixed costs and variable costs. The marginal product cost would be additional costs of producing an additional unit of output. Measuring the cost of opportunity is another thing a company should take into consideration before making any decision. Opportunity cost is when you use something wisely to produce another in the most cost-effective manner. It can be explicit cost, meaning that you can measure, they are paid, and can be found in the company's bookkeeping, or they can be implicit costs, which are more difficult to see and measure. Both affects the company profitability. For example, if the company leases an office, it has to pay the rent every month. So it's an explicit cost because you have a monetary transaction. It's a tangible thing you can see in the accountant. So it's an explicit cost. However, if the firm owns the office, is already paid off, you should consider how much it would make if the company have rented the space. This would be considered an implicit cost. So there is no monetary transaction, so it's very difficult to identify. Implicit costs could also be brand recognition, for example. It has power over the company because it brings more revenue, but it's very difficult to define its monetary value. So to sum up, costs play an important role in a decision-making process for any type of business. The firm objectives must be coherent with the company's structure, cost of operation, market share, etc., especially for products that the firm has little control over price. Measuring cost per unit and cost of opportunity can guide to decisions that will enhance the company productivity and revenue. Perhaps the firm can find a best alternative use of its resources. In a short run production, changes are more difficult to occur since the company is limited to at least one fixed input.